Hello, good morning again, here from the Philippines. Having just spent 12 minutes doing a video and then discovering that the remote microphone wasn't working. So I didn't really think you'd want to watch 12 minutes of my mouth moving with no sound. So we'll strive again. This is my second video for this morning, and it focuses on the other side, or the other connection to the storyline of the first one. They are sort of interrelated, but they don't necessarily attach themselves to you-know-who. And I'm talking about a particular country. Well, as many of you will probably aspire to, the idea that you will tell us how your Filipina is very frugal, is able to manage the money without any trouble. That's great to hear, and I applaud you all for those that have found a particular woman who looks at life from that perspective, because that's a great way to be. But it's not the way that many here in the Philippines will actually be. Having been here 10 years, I've had pretty good experience as to how far a piece of string is. And there are times where it stretches one's resource, or resolve, I should say, rather than, well, both resources and resolve. Because there's a tendency here for Filipina, that's the woman of the house. Once she meets you, the foreigner, she's torn between the background, and that is, the background is you're rich, they're not. And they've found the golden goose that lays the golden egg. Well, it's not quite like that, and as I'm sure you all know, when we retire, we either have a finite amount of money put aside for maybe building a home, maybe for buying that fancy car, or even maybe taking trips here and there. But eventually, once you've decided to do that and you've settled down in retirement here, you have to then rely on what is either a regular investment from back home, paid by way of dividends, or maybe an old age pension, or a retirement income. One of those will be your main source, one would hope, for an income. And therefore, hang on a second, I'll just shut the door. The door is already shut. Sorry about the noise. That's the puppies saying, hey, why can't we come outside? Everybody else is. Well, back to what I was saying. Sorry about that. But every week, every day, there's a certain amount of money required for daily occurrences. Like, for instance, one of my stepdaughters. I'm not going to fall for that crap about they're not my stepdaughters because I'm not married or something like that. They've been a part of my life for 10 years. I'm not going to start changing my attitude just because of some stupid trolls who go on channel and start telling me I shouldn't be referring to them that way. There's a daily allowance that I have to come up with, or somebody has to come up with, to allow one of the daughters to go to college. No problem with that at all. It's about 200 pesos a day, and it's a regular payment, generally 6 days a week, because Saturday there's often a class. Now, if I don't have that in my mind 2 sixes are 12. That's 1,200 pesos a week. And as I get my pension every 4 weeks, that is 4,800 a month for every 4 weeks. Now, in my mind, 4,800 gone, boom. And then on top of that, of course, you have tuition fees. And they, over a semester, are around 50,000 in total. So you have to budget for that. Why do you have to budget, you ask? Because somebody has to make the decision that they're going to support. And when I say support, not only financially, but also morally, support a younger person a chance to have a university education for her future, beyond your own life. So I've taken that role. Jane has taken that role as well. It's not just my burden, it's also hers as well. And by doing so, we budgeted for that, or one would hope, to allow for that as a costing each month. Put aside, it's an unseen amount. It's a bit like having a car and knowing that you're spending $10 or $30 a week on fuel. If you don't put aside in your mind the $30, you ain't going nowhere, mate, because you don't have the money for it. And unfortunately, in the Philippines, majority of people, certainly out here in the provinces, as I've observed, they live from day to day. So therefore their finances are day to day. A meal in the morning, maybe at work. A meal in the evening. Again, depending on what they've chosen to cook, the cost of that meal varies. If they've chosen an expensive ingredient, then the meal might cost you 300 or 400 pesos for the ingredients. Then on top of that, of course, you have gas, power, whatever's needed to create it. And all of these things have to be taken into account. But for a Filipina, it's like, give her 10,000 pesos. Give your darling 10,000 pesos and say, spend it on whatever you wish. You'll watch that money be very carefully spent, because they know that once the last centavo of that 10,000 is gone, there ain't no more money until maybe they get another one. But the same applies to your finite resource, the one that you get every month. They think it grows on a tree. They think if things get a bit hard, you can just go and pluck another 10,000 off the tree. Well, if you give them the impression that that's what happens, then more fool you, because inevitably you'll be going back to that tree more often than you think. They all, and I'll exclude the ones that have said their wives are so frugal that they even hand back the change. I'll exclude them from the scenario. But the reality is, I don't know a Filipina currently amongst my friends, my extended family group, that don't live beyond their own means. In other words, they spend or desire to spend more than that's coming in there. They fill the gap with loans from people, borrowing money from people and paying it back maybe a few days later in anticipation of a payment being received from somewhere else. But that's how they live. And we as foreign individuals, how can we cope with that? Because that's an impossible task. You cannot live on credit if you cannot pay it back. But Filipinos seem to think the Lord will provide. It will happen regardless. Somewhere, someone will save them. And with their proliferation on the news, in the ads, on the phone, on the TV, on the radio. There are so many temptations for the younger and the whole myriad of people out there that want to borrow money, who need to borrow money. I look at my friends who are in business, maybe a tricycle, and suddenly the engine backs up, and they've got to face a 3,000 or 4,000 peso outlay. How do they get that money? They borrow. They borrow 3, they pay back 4. They just hope they can, because otherwise they borrow 4, they've got to pay back 5. Money lenders here are like loan sharks. That's all you can say they are. And unfortunately, Filipinos don't recognize that 29, 30, 60, 100% interest per month is impossible to maintain. So guys, you really do need to sit them down and realize that once that money has gone, there is no more money. If there's 4 days before you get paid, then there's 4 days. We have no food. Why? Because they've been reckless in spending. You know, every day there's somebody coming down the road with a bundle of things on the back of his scooter, delivering stuff for Shopee, Lazada, TikTok. All these people are buying stuff every day. And 150 here, 450 there, 200 here, 1,000 there. It's very easy to see how to blow your budget. So guys, you need to keep a handle on it and realize that if you don't, they certainly won't either. And you're going to end up in shit street. You really will. Sorry for the rude words, but that's the reality of it. And there's only one person in your family that can put the kibosh to all of this idea, is you. It's more than just saying no. It's about having the mindset to be strong enough to annoy them to the point of irritation, maybe. Maybe that's what has to happen. But the reality, the coin has to drop. They have to realize they cannot live beyond their means, because it means you are living beyond your means too. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. And you have a lovely day. Beautiful blue sky. Bye now.